These days, one video is going viral on social media. A whale named Orca attacked and killed its trainer Jessica Redcliffe during a show. Some people claim this is AI generated, while others are expressing grief and sorrow. But have you ever thought, how does such a massive whale understand a human's signals? How can it behave so gently with humans? How is mankind even capable of teaching such a giant creature tricks? And where do marine parks actually get these whales from? You will find all these answers in today's video. But before we begin, one complaint I have from all of you. You don't like, you don't comment. We never even ask you to subscribe because we know you already love us and you'll eventually do it. So let's begin the story. The ocean. A depth that has always remained a mystery for mankind. Inside it live such majestic creatures whose sheer size and power have always left humans amazed. Among them is the whale, an animal considered the true king of the sea. But do you know how humans captured these whales from the oceans and began using them for their own purposes? In the 1970s and 80s, people would set out into the seas with small boats and huge ships. Their target, a whale family, which always stays in groups called pods. Mothers, fathers, calves, all swimming together. But humans would separate the calves using giant nets because capturing young whales was easier for training. Imagine a mother whale fighting desperately to save her calf, yet helpless in front of loud engines, massive nets, and human machines. Eventually, the calves would be captured and sold in markets. When they were small, their price was relatively lower, but as they grew, both their value and the cost of keeping them increased. The captured whales were taken out of the freedom of the ocean and thrown into a confined tank. From swimming 100 miles a day in the wild, they were reduced to only circling a few rounds in a small pool. That tank became their prison, and then begins their training process. Trainers use a technique called positive reinforcement, meaning if the whale performs the correct move, like jumping out of the water, following a hand signal, or completing a stunt, it immediately gets a fish as a reward. If it refuses, no food is given. Day by day, month by month, the whale begins to realize that following the human signals is the only way to survive. Slowly, it forgets its natural behavior and starts obeying human gestures. Feeding an adult whale is extremely costly. They require 200 to 250 pounds of fish every single day. These fish are specially imported, costing thousands upon thousands of dollars. This is why marine parks invest so much money into their whales. Feeding them, hiring doctors, maintaining their health, and organizing shows are all highly expensive. Over time, the whale learns to recognize the trainer's voice, their whistles, hand signals, and even develops a connection from spending so much time together. This is why people are often left wondering, how can such a massive creature respond to just a small whistle or a wave of the hand? The answer lies in the whale's intelligence, combined with human conditioning techniques. But one important question still remains. Is this bond genuine friendship, or simply the result of survival and conditioning? Being taken from the open ocean and locked into a small tank is the biggest test of a whale's life. Its heart, once beating to the rhythm of the deep sea, now echoes within the silence of confinement. Yet for humans, the goal was clear: to make this whale the shining star of a show. When a whale first comes face to face with a trainer, it understands nothing. It swims from one edge of the tank to the other, splashing water in protest. In its eyes, there is a restlessness, a confusion. The trainer blows a whistle, but the whale just stares. Then, the trainer throws a fish in front of it. Slowly, the whale begins to understand that every sound has a meaning. If it performs the required action, it will be rewarded. Days pass, and training becomes routine. Whistle, take a turn. Raised hand, perform a jump. Clapping in the water, come to the trainer. Within a few weeks, the whale learns that it must perform according to human signals. At first, these may seem like games, but gradually, they become part of a strict schedule. The hardest thing for the whale is letting go of its natural hunting instincts. In the ocean, it hunted seals, salmon, and other fish. But now, in the tank, it is only fed thawed fish. Inside the tank, multiple whales often live together. Sometimes this leads to competition, sometimes companionship, and sometimes jealousy. If one whale performs better and gets more attention, tension builds between them. Raising and maintaining a whale is no small responsibility. It consumes nearly 150 kilos of fish daily. Its weight must be regularly monitored. Specialized marine veterinarians are required to take care of its health. But one thing that always remains missing is the freedom of the sea, the company of its pod, and its natural environment. And this emptiness, this void, grows deep inside the whale's heart. As the whale continues to grow, the challenges for its trainers also increase. Feeding becomes one of the biggest responsibilities. A whale of this size consumes an enormous amount of food every single day. Do you know how much? Nearly 40 to 60 kilograms of fish daily. Now imagine the cost. Hundreds of dollars spent just to feed this one creature. Multiply that over weeks, months, and years, and the expense becomes overwhelming. But remember, this is not charity. The marine park covers all of these expenses from the tickets it sells. Thousands of people buy tickets to watch the whale perform for just a few minutes. They clap, laugh, and enjoy the show, never realizing the struggle, the pain, and the hidden effort behind every performance. Training also evolves as the whale grows older. The young whale, once afraid and confused, now begins to understand signals more clearly. The bond between the trainer and the whale deepens, but make no mistake, it is not always love. Sometimes it is just survival. The trainer spends most of their day with the whale, teaching it tricks, giving it signals, and feeding it as a reward. Hand gestures, whistles, and even voice commands become the language between man and whale. For example, a sharp whistle might mean jump. A wave of the hand might mean spin. Another gesture might mean push the trainer forward. To the audience, all of this looks magical, almost unbelievable, as if the whale and the trainer share an unbreakable friendship. But in reality, this friendship is built on hunger and repetition. The whale knows, if I follow the command, I will get food. If I don't, I will remain hungry. Yet people in the stands believe this is true happiness. They see the whale jump, splash, and wave its fins, and they assume it is smiling. But here lies the greatest misconception. Whales do not actually smile. The curve of their jaw gives the illusion of a smile, but experts know it is not joy. Behind that so-called smile hides exhaustion, loneliness, and sometimes suppressed anger. And think about it. This same whale, just a few years ago, was swimming freely in the vast ocean. It had miles of water in every direction, It had a family, a pod, and freedom to hunt. But today, that same whale is trapped inside walls of glass, surrounded by artificial lights, loudspeakers, and crowds who cheer without ever questioning its suffering. Marine parks call this education. Trainers call it entertainment. But for the whale, this is not life. This is survival inside a prison. Time continues to pass, and with it the whale grows larger, stronger, and heavier. What once was a playful calf is now a full-grown predator, built by nature to rule the seas. But inside this confined tank, its true power has no space to breathe. The walls of glass and the narrow boundaries of the pool cannot contain the instincts that burn inside this creature. With age, the whale's behavior begins to change. Trainers start noticing signs of frustration. Sometimes, the whale refuses to follow commands. Other times, it splashes aggressively or slaps its tail against the water with such force that even the audience feels the shock. To a normal visitor, this might look entertaining, but to the trainers, it is a warning. They know the whale is no longer just a performer. It is a wild predator, carrying strength far beyond human control. Whales in captivity often develop health issues. Their dorsal fins, which stand tall and straight in the ocean, begin to collapse, bending to the side like a broken flag. This is not normal in the wild, but in captivity, it becomes common. It is a visible sign of stress, of unnatural living conditions. Their teeth also suffer. Biting on the steel gates of the tank or chewing out of frustration damages their jaws. And when pain builds inside them, their behavior becomes unpredictable. Yet the shows continue. The crowds still cheer. For the marine park, the whale is not an animal, it is an investment. As long as tickets are sold, as long as seats are filled, the show must go on. But the trainers know they are standing on thin ice. Every time they enter the pool, they are risking their lives. Behind every trick, behind every jump, there is the possibility of disaster, and sometimes disaster strikes. History has recorded incidents where whales, pushed to their limit, turned against their trainers. In moments of rage or confusion, accidents happen. Tragic accidents that remind the world that these creatures were never meant to be entertainers. They are apex predators of the ocean, not clowns of a stage. But even after such incidents, questions remain buried. The audience is told it was an accident, but truth is hidden. The tickets are still sold, and the cycle continues. Now pause for a moment and think, is this justice? Is this the life nature intended for one of the most powerful creatures of the ocean? A life where every movement is controlled, every meal is measured, every day is the same. In the vast blue ocean, a whale swims thousands of miles, leading its pod, hunting freely, and communicating in ways humans can barely understand. But in a tank, that same whale swims in circles, repeating the same patterns, staring at the same walls, living in silence except for the whistles and claps of strangers. And perhaps the saddest part, many whales live their entire lives without ever returning to the ocean. They are born in captivity, perform in captivity, and die in captivity. For them, the sea becomes only a dream, a story they never get to live. So next time you see a whale jump in a show, ask yourself, Is it really smiling? Or is it crying behind that illusion of joy? Because the truth is clear. This is not entertainment. This is imprisonment. And behind every performance lies a story of captivity, struggle, and silent suffering that most people will never see.